Hi, my name is Mary Wong, and I'm a registered traditional Chinese medicine practitioner and acupuncturist in Toronto, Canada. And I'm also the author of Pathways to Pregnancy. Tonight, welcome to my live post number 18, and it is about the core of your existence, which is water, which is so important. And we need to talk about this because, so here's the thing. In Chinese medicine, which is what I practice, we talk about acupuncture and we talk about food and all that stuff. But really, the very core is about water. And I do want to talk about this tonight because it's a very important conversation and we drink it every day. Some of us more, some more than others. But really, in even medical practice, they say, oh, drink 8 glasses of water. And so really, what is in the water that you are drinking and what is your source? I want to know, and perhaps I can help guide you into choosing the one that works best for you and your family. So a little bit about water, okay? First of all, it's about 60% of our body is composed of water. So it literally is crucial in our body's makeup, whether it is just maintaining your health currently, or if you're trying to conceive, or if you're pregnant, as well as, thinking about the children or future children that you have. So, most essential thing in our body. Well, what does it do? Well, it flushes out waste products, so it can decrease the burden of our liver and our kidneys. It detoxifies and it moistens our tissues. It regulates our body temperature, protects our organs and tissues. It lubricates our joints. And we dissolve minerals and nutrients within so that it's accessible in our body. And also, through our bloodstream, which has the oxygen and nutrients, it carries it to all of our cells. So it's really, really, really crucial. So the thing about water, unfortunately, our source can be contaminated. And I'm going to actually show you this. I just printed this up last night. I mean, you really can't read it per se, but just look at the possibility of the amounts of contaminants that can actually be in your drinking water in your tap. And so there are many, right? And there is a body called the, oh wait, let me find it. Hang on. There is the National Sanitation Foundation, which certifies our water, and this is actually American based, so Canadians and Americans use this. And there is 2 certification. One is for what we call aesthetic water, meaning how it tastes. So there are filtration systems that work on getting a proper taste that's palatable. And then the second piece, which is even more important, is how it impacts us and our health. So we want to make sure that the water that we drink is good. Now, when it comes to the water from our tap, oh, you can't even see my tap. Anyway, you can actually check to see how clean it is. And I have, oh my goodness, where is it? I have a little bottle that I am going to utilize. And this I got from our local municipality. So we live in Toronto. So this is a Toronto package. It came literally in a package like this. So I am going to go ahead and take my tap water and fill this container. And I'm going to send it out for testing for free. And this program is about, it goes to a lab and it's for free, and it actually tests lead content. And lead, as we know it, is really harmful for our body. It's heavy metal. And unfortunately, even if our water is natural, quite clean from our filtration system, lead can be within our pipes. And in my home, I'm hoping that it's A-OK because it was built in the 60s, and technically houses before 1960 may have contamination with lead piping. So with our slightly newer house, hopefully our pipes are okay. Now the reason why I'm testing is because I don't want to assume anything, and this is kind of a bit of a science experiment, because I had a patient who actually works at the ministry, no, not the ministry, let me think of it, like health and safety, and she's a physician, and she tested her house, and which had actually new pipes, and they found in their house that there was a higher level of lead, which was considered not safe, which was shocking to her, because apparently some of the pipes have been changed. So what that alludes to is that sometimes there's like little, how they even replace the pipes, there may be bits that are still left. So you do want to test it, because you don't want to have high lead content in your water. It impacts your health, especially if you have any kind of like autoimmune issues or arthritis, thyroid conditions, or anything inflammatory. As well, we know as a fact, and I'll even pull it right from the City of Toronto about lead, for public health recommendation, they talk about how fetuses, infants, and young children, there are huge and, well, increased risks when exposed to lead. So for example, children under the age of 6 are more sensitive to harm from lead, because their brains are still developing and they absorb lead more easily than adults. So young children are exposed to lead from other sources as well, because basically, you know, if they're like toddlers, they're playing with toys and they put anything in their mouth. So they already have naturally and potentially higher toxic levels of that. So we really want to minimize it in their drinking water. And so for when it comes to breastfeeding and people using formula, you're also adding in water, right? For the formula. So you also want to be careful with that. And now, then comes fetuses. So, you know, when you're trying to conceive or when you're pregnant, then you definitely also want to minimize exposure, and because you're and the developing fetus will be very sensitive to lead, and it may impact their development in a negative way. So the one thing that they recommend is adding calcium, because it makes the lead less absorbable, which is a good thing to know. And the other thing in terms of lead, what I find interesting is if there is lead content at all, what you want to do is to be able to flush your tap water. So meaning when the tap is just sitting there dormant, like meaning you haven't used it for several hours, then chances are when you turn the water on, you're going to have more lead content. So you want to flush it for a good minute or so, and maybe to be environmentally conscious, then you can use that water for other things. Maybe take a shower at that point to flush out the water system in your place, and then use the water for drinking. So one of the advice, for example, would be then to have your shower or wash your hands, and then collect your drinking water, and then, you know, put it on the counter, which as a TCM practitioner is what we would advise, because we don't like refrigerated water. And that's a different conversation. So going back to health and safety, yeah, so, you know, do test it. It's for free if there's any suspicion of lead poisoning. So really, out of all of the different kinds of contamination that are there, heavy metals would probably be the worst. And other things that you may want to watch out for is, you know, volatile organic chemicals, which is otherwise known as VOCs. And that can be in the water system. So like pesticides and herbicides can leach into our water system. So there are filtration systems that kind of take care of that. So that's good. And we'll cover some of the filtration systems, okay? And so research talks about VOCs that can impact and damage reproductive health as well as the liver and the kidneys and then other things. So I'm just glossing this over because water really is actually a massive subject. So now other content that you can find in the water would be endocrine disrupting chemicals. So this would be kind of like disrupting hormones, normal hormones in the body. So for, again, anybody that's trying to conceive or have even like going through menopause, it can impact our body and how we function metabolically. So you don't want to impact that, and especially for those people who have endocrine disorders already and who have sensitivity. So now in terms of, well, then what can we do about it, right? Oh, one last thing. There's a lot of people a lot of cities add fluoride in the water. And although fluoride we stick in toothpaste, well, that's really not for congestion and consumption, right? It's really for your teeth. And so drinking it can also be deleterious to your health. So you really want to minimize that. And things like simple, whoops, let me just do this here. So the most common thing that people drink will be bottled water. So out of the store, well, is that actually better than tap water? Well, there's been lots of research that actually tells us that it may even be worse than our tap water. So I personally think that it's not a good choice, and I say avoid it at all costs, because there's multiple reasons. One is that, the plastics itself, they're filling up our landfill, which is really not great. Secondly, the plastic that is used oxidizes readily, and basically you're going to also end up adding in more chemicals from the plastic. And of course, plastic ingestion of that is definitely not a good thing. And let me see. Okay, so okay, so let's talk about the filtration system. So yes, no water bottles, please. So if you're going to do tap water, then people are doing the cheapest thing that people do is better than nothing, I would say, is using pitchers. And I don't like to name names, but as I know it, Brita is like a household product for most people. And so, what can Brita filters do? Well, I'll actually tell you, because I went through this website that talked about different kinds of systems. And when it came to the Brita filter itself, there was a lot of no's. I don't know if you can see this, but there's a lot of no's in terms of what it can filter out. So not a heck of a lot. And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that it can help. So the good news is that it can help to filter out mercury, but it has zero impact on lead and zero impact on any kind of VOCs. And so what it can do is make the water taste a little bit more palatable. So the next question is, and what Chinese people often do, is we filter, or we think that we're cleaning water by boiling it. So like in China, of course, it's very common, partly for health reasons, in terms of the actual temperature of water, because we say that we internalize that easier, we metabolize it better, so then our energy, it can be utilized for other things more optimally. So that's one thing. But in terms of actual health with regards to boiling the water, what it does do for sure is that it'll kill off bacteria. And sometimes if you have contamination in the water that way, then it's a really great way to get rid of that. But certainly it has all the heavy metals would certainly sit still and perhaps even more concentrated. And that's why we in fact say, if you boil your water, don't ever reboil it. Because if you have a kettle and you drink some and then maybe you want to boil it again thinking that you'll make more hot water, well, I say ditch that water put in new water, because all you're doing is you're concentrating the stuff that's already sitting there, so you're actually just getting more contamination, right? Distilled water, well, that process is similar, where they're actually using the steam, and then you're moistening the steam, and that collects and becomes water again. So distilled means, at least in this case, you are getting rid of the heavy metals, but it's going to be quite off balance in terms of the nature of it. Like, it's not going to have your natural minerals that are good for you, and it certainly does not get rid of other types of things like the VOCs. So in fact, let me refer back to my notes here with our too many of. Okay, so yeah, so endocrine disruptors and VOCs basically stay there. So really better choice than bottled water, but not the best option out there. And then how about, you might have heard of reverse osmosis. And so reverse osmosis filtration, basically it's like a membrane that will remove contamination from the water. And it's usually like paired up with charcoal, so to try to do different layers of filtration. And the thing is, there are some downsides to it, because oftentimes you're actually requiring more water to make them the drinkable water, so there's a lot of waste. It can be costly. It can remove a large amount of contaminants, so that's a plus. And you can do that under the sink, so it's easy, but it can cost more money, right? It does reduce arsenic, asbestos, heavy metals like that. But what it does also is it takes away the good quality minerals. So people that utilize that, you basically have to add in more minerals back into it before you drink it. So a little bit inconvenient that way. Again, better than the other ones that I've mentioned so far, but it can be more costly. So I think part of the equation also for you and your family is, is it, how affordable is it for you? And then there are solid block carbon filters. So they can actually remove chemicals, pesticides, bacteria, fluoride, and all the heavy metals and nitrates and parasites, all that. And typically gravity based. And I actually have that system right now, and it's kind of cool. And to be honest, the water tastes like out of this world. Like I in fact have never tasted water so good. It's really, really clean, and it doesn't take everything out, but it takes a lot out. And like I said, really you want to also look at, how much toxin is in your own life. So for example, I'll use, if you are a set painter for a movie set and you're exposed to chemicals all day long, then I would say, you might want to take better care of really filtering out extra toxins that you're able to. And maybe this is a case where you want to like up the ante and, do the undermount under the sink and have this like awesome filtration system. There's like, they call them multi-stage filters, and this is the most costly one. And when I priced it out, this one example was about, their highest price point was $16.95 US. So for us Canadians, that's over $2,000 for a filtration system. So, absolutely, if you have the money, and do it. And as I always like to refer back to, back in 1901, people paid paid for their food, and they would actually spend about 40% of their income on food. And in this case, I would add in the drink part of it. And because health is really the most important thing, and with all the elderly patients that I've seen, and I've been in practice for over 20 years, 24 years to be exact, the common thread that I hear that elderly people tell me is like, I wish I took better care of myself when I was younger. You know, I wish I invested more in my health when I was younger, because now I feel like every day I'm doing appointments for my health. So, you know, sometimes it is worth the investment to pay for it now, so that you increase your longevity, and not even just your longevity, but also increase the quality of your life. Because to me, it's like, I want to live to 100, but I don't want to be decrepit at 100. I want to be vibrant and, you know, doing Tai Chi in the park like everybody else, or, you know, yoga, or, you know, ballroom dancing, or maybe belly dancing when I'm 100. So, you know, I do think it's important to take care of your health now. And for those people that are trying to conceive, it's also very important to take care of your health now, because what you do in your body, and you create the building blocks of life and carrying life, then it's important to really look at all directions, right? So what is the point of all this about drinking water? So I don't think that all of us has to spend $2,000 on this multi-stage filtration system that takes away everything and then puts back in all the minerals. I don't, right? I'm not doing it, and my filtration system is about $200 right now. But like I said, we'll see what the verdict is when we get our water testing back from the ministry, and I can tell you in a couple of weeks. And if there is more lead, then perhaps then we'll look into something. But ultimately, it's not even about what kind of filtration system you have. It's really about changing the lead pipes that you have in your household. So I don't want to cause mass hysteria, thinking, oh my gosh, I have to filter my water 100%. But it's like, do the best that you can do and the money that you can spare. And some kind of filtration is better than no filtration. And again, I would really, really, really ask you to stay away from bottled water. And especially, like, there's a lot of people, and even a patient that walked in today, a new patient, they said that they would put their water bottles in the car, in the trunk, so that they can access it, thinking that they're being super healthy because they're just getting hydrated. Well, the part that they don't know is that, you know, when it's sitting in the car, especially in the summertime, if you live in a climate that gets really hot, what you're doing is that you're actually breaking down the plastic in the car, and so you're drinking even more toxin. And again, even when they test the water, never mind the bottle that it's in, sometimes the contamination is more than what is in your regular tap water. So that is it for this evening. If there is anything that you would like to add, please do so. If I'm missing something, please add. If you have questions, please ask. And there's a little delay in this, so I'm going to give it like 30 seconds. And in the meantime, just know that you know, the most important thing is balance. And in Chinese medicine, we talk about balance. So we want to balance, you know, what we take, what we drink, but then we also want to balance our emotional state. So if you're doing everything perfect, you're trying to be perfect, but all of a sudden you get high stress about trying to be perfect, and, you know, you feel guilty if you're all of a sudden drinking tap water at the restaurant. You know, what do you do? All that. Then that creates imbalance. So really, it's about how do you get back into balance, where, you know, just know that we are exposed to toxins all around us, and we can create babies despite that, and we can have healthy lives despite that. It's just about minimizing it and being okay with the level of risk that you choose for yourself and for your family. And so have that be your guiding light and be at peace with that. And so I share this with you in peace. And please check out my book, Pathways to Pregnancy. And I do have more other health advice generally. And check out my website, marywong.life. And if you're in Toronto and if you ever need Chinese medicine consultation and acupuncture, check out our clinic, which is Alive Holistic Health Clinic, where we have 4 awesome TCM practitioners. And that's it. So check out other Facebook posts that I have. And oh, I want to check out something. So a couple of weeks ago, I want to show you that I made this fire cider tonic. And so you can check out how I made this. And this is still steeping away. This is about 3rd week. And one more week, I can filter this out and then have a tablespoon every day to help my health and keep my body and immune system strong. So check that out and like my page. And we'll see you next week, because I'll do this a different topic every Wednesday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be here or be square. Mwah. Love ya.